So resuming the former video, glacials are the normal and Holocene are pulled off by humans and amongst others by agricultural revolutions. So you have the Neolithic revolution. This is the first attempt, very steep rise of temperature out of the glacial into interglacial, but it collapsed because it was too quick, and it made the AMOC, the Gulf Stream, collapse, and the poles got frozen again, even more than they were before. And then in the second attempt, which is related to Gobekli-Tepe, the Fertile Crescent, but that's only part because it happens globally. It starts to work and they can pull it off. And we are in the Holocene. And here, David-Reich and ancient DNA research detect the arrival of 4 groups in Europe that will form the modern Europeans and that will replace and possibly eliminate all the native Europeans that were before. Then, so this is the Neolithic revolution. It's agriculture. It's warming, successfully warming. This again is when the groups start to spread, warming. Then you have the Bronze Age collapse, but before you had a revolution, agricultural revolution, the Iron Age, a lot of plows and a lot of axes, and we got a warming. And then again, you had, this is probably the Roman warming. This is possibly the medieval warming. But you see, they are all inferior to this initial warming, which is the Neolithic revolution, agricultural revolution, because they have to build temperature on a temperature that is already there. And so all of them are noticeable, but you would need a smaller, more detailed timescale to point them out. We have videos about them pointing one revolution after the other. Certainly, we point out the Neolithic revolution, agricultural revolution, the revolution before the Bronze Age collapse. So the Bronze Age revolution, so to speak, or the Iron Age revolution. It's in detail in some of our videos. The Roman Revolution, the medieval revolution, but it's possible that agricultural revolution, but I cannot point it out because it's not detailed enough. Roughly speaking, Gobekli-Tepe, haplogroup R1A, R1B arrived by 8,000 years ago. And then the latest, like Western Europe, Western Eurasia, and some other places like parts of India, the R1A and R1B, at the end it's more R1B, took over, so to speak, the world and for more or less the West as we know it today geopolitically. So genetics is much more easy than what we dealt with until now, the warming through agriculture. Crashing out of the Holocene because you only can make it crashing out and not too much because otherwise you fall back ugly. So this time they got it right. So genetics is more easily this, or we are talking about has its roots, cradles in the Americas, Air 1. So the genetic part is much more easy than this pulling out part. And people, humans, scientists, and alternative historians don't see through it because they don't understand the warming by agriculture, and they don't understand the genetics that the air 1A and air 1B arrive from the cradles, arrive in masses. So these ancients that still go on thriving during the glacials, they built up these cradles, and when the temperature was right, they they sent them out. They sent them out. They invited them to be sent out, and they overturned all native populations. And so modern Europeans, and that is true for most of all modern humans, of all 8 billion modern humans, were sent out after the temperature got right from the tropics. And that's something that's not quite convenient for scientists and even for alternative historians, and so they don't see it. And they also don't see the currents, how they bring on these Air 1A and Air 1B until Western Europe, Western Eurasia, and even the Fertile Crescent. So all other interglacials are just the same. What we still need to explain is why they wait 100,000 years. And that's because the conditions are best to crash out of the glacial. The glacial starts to bother because it gets very cold. Probably it gets too cold to be ideal in the tropics as well. And there's another thing, the tropics are degrading as well because probably the tropics and subtropics is where the dust comes from that builds up during glacials. So the glacials are self-reinforcing, get too cold, it's the right time. The ancients detect it's the right time, calculate it's the right time to crash out with agriculture, to crash out. Maybe I should call this crashing out because this is possibly involuntarily. And if we crash out, it will be certainly involuntarily, certainly for the West, because the West will suffer most.